All right, we're good. So we are a go. I want to take some time to recognize and welcome our faculty, our students, as well as our industry partners that are joining us. And thank Paul Forbes for making this connection to make this happen for us today. And recognize our department head, Dr. Burris, who is here as well. We're delighted to have Ishmael Amin from DXC talking to us today. In 2015, Mr. Amin set his career path towards completing his master's in data science and in artificial intelligence at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. He's now part of the graduating class of 2020, and he holds a bachelor's in statistical science from UC Santa Barbara. He has a deep fundamental understanding of statistical science, and he's worked in the IT industry for more than 24 years. He's been instrumental in performing data science for Fortune 500 clients, business development, advising, leading, and developing the talent of the digital analytics capability within DXC. Mr. Amin is the lead data scientist and data science manager for DXC Technology, who supervises over 40 data scientists, data engineers, and ETL DBAs. His excellent soft skills have made him an ambassador to represent the NOLA service line analytics capabilities and to build relationships with our university, as well as the university outreach programs with LSU, UNO, and other universities. And along with client billable work, he engages clients during RFP oral sales pursuit presentations. He's a communicator who can identify, cultivate, and mentor the talents of other analytics members. Mr. Amin's work ethos is to provide cutting-edge analytical solutions to keep current with technologies and to be relevant in the field of data science, to provide business development, and to flourish within his profession. Data science is an interdisciplinary field that allows him to draw upon his diverse knowledge gained by studying and practicing the disciplines of data science, statistical science, and computer science. Mr. Amin is eager to learn new business domains by constantly seeking to understand how things work at their applied and theoretical levels using principal sources of knowledge. Data science appeals to his sense of purpose and passion to provide services of value. And so without further ado, I give to you Mr. Ishmael Amin.
Thank you very much for that intro that I wrote. So, so I'm kind of laughing because that's the first time I've heard it spoken. It's pretty spot on. The only thing it's missing a few more things I'd added to it. I am a drummer and I gig, and I haven't really played in the New Orleans area too much, but I think that I tap into that musician creativity when it comes to data science and when it comes to building a team. And you know, the members of my team are players, they're performers, and I think about how we can prepare for the next gig all the time. So I'm trying to get my screen ready so I can present here. Let me know if you can see my screen. Which one are you seeing? Let me see. I think this is it. Okay. All right. Okay, without further ado. So today I want to talk about team building. Team building within the context of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. When it comes to building a team, there's a few different aspects we want to touch upon. One is psychological safety. Also, we want to talk about some of our, what Gardner calls a target state, or different key objectives that we'd like to reach within the context of building a team. And then meeting expectations. There's a vast amount of skills that are required in data science. and AI and ML, and so there's a lot of expectations. So how do we meet those expectations? And also, we're going to look at the Gartner's AI quadrant and how that relates to skills and some other things. And also, I'd like to cover how we create a professional guild. This is where we're going to get more into how the guild and guild presentations. And when I think of the guild, I think of the band and how we get the band together to meet our to become better. So first, I'd like to talk about Google's quest to build the perfect team. And psychological safety is one of the things that Google was able to extrapolate from years of study. And in the context of building a perfect team, psychological safety is similar to the concept of, say that you have a football team, or you can say, well, I won't name any college teams because that might rile some people up, but it's just, you have the Saints, and say the Saints are have some play that's blown. Now, a good team, and Saints are a good team, they come back to the huddle and they stay positive. They're like, good show. It's very positive reinforcement. It's not a negative environment, and that's where, when it comes to psychological safety, there's a sense of confidence that the team members have, that they're not going to be embarrassed or rejected or punished when they, in this context of speaking up, from Amy Hudson's Edmondson presentation with Harvard University, which was captured in the New York Times Magazine. And the concept of psychological safety is kind of a cornerstone for the team building and staying positive. And when we think about that context, we also want to think about some of the objectives and the path to going forward. When I think about AI, ML, and data science, DS, Gardner kind of outlines a path forward. And one of the first things that we want to do is cultivate a culture of smart individuals, individuals who are creative, who are positive and forward thinking. And
Excuse me, Mr. Amin.
yes,
Are you sharing your screen? I'm not seeing that.
you're not seeing my screen?
I'm not seeing your screen. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it's good that you told me. Did it stop sharing?
It may
Oh, wait.
have.
No, wait.
I may be doing something wrong on my end. I don't.
Wait, sorry, an error occurred. Can't share. Oh, wait. So I've been talking, you haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen it. I've been looking around.
Let me try.
My settings.
Let's see. I will try again.
There it is.
Okay, sure. What can you see? Do you see the PowerPoint?
I do see the PowerPoint target states and now agenda.
Okay.
And, yeah, lead slide. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
I thought I had messed something up.
No. I'm glad. Sorry we hadn't. Yeah. Okay. So this is a intro slide, and I've talked. These are the topics that I mentioned earlier, and Google's quest to build a perfect team, and the quest to build a perfect team. I talked about the Saints and being a positive team, positive reinforcement, always working hard to get better and learn, develop, and strategize to move forward. And here I'm talking about Gartner's what they call the target states. and they've broken it into 5 different components. And this is where we start off with how we cultivate a culture, and that's why I started off with the topic of psychological safety, because I think that that's a really important aspect of things. When you have a team that's brought together, um, one of the aspects that was covered within the article of Google explaining how to build a perfect team was the fact that you want to build a team where individuals all have a say. They all have an equal voice. You want to be able to hear from the youngest person in the group to the oldest person. You want to hear from individuals with different talents and backgrounds, and also you want to have emotional intelligence, or IQ. Emotional IQ is very important, and also you want to be able to laugh. When it comes to building that culture of psychological safety, and that's where, within the context of the study, that's where creativity flourishes, when you have that safe zone. I think that that's like one of the most important things that you can have within a group. And in light of all the chaos that's going on in the world, a place where you can come together and joke and laugh is really where you start to look at things from different perspectives. And when it comes to AI and machine learning, it's about being on the bleeding edge of doing something that's never been done before often. It's not about just following someone else's trail. It's about seeing things from a different perspective. And the way we see that is by sharing ideas. And I that's the most important thing I want to share. And then once we get that understanding, then that's where we start to grow. And the second step in this is expand. When we think about expanding AI and ML capability, as well as big data, we want to think about our customers, but also it's a two-way communication. It's not just, oh, we're making them happy, but it's listening to our customers, sharing our ideas, but also anticipating the next move from a chess game perspective, thinking about how we go to the next level. One of the things that, from my intro, you all know that I have a master's in data science, but it doesn't mean that I know everything. What it really means is that I have a fundamental understanding of data science and artificial intelligence. But one of the things that I carry with me and that I share with others in my team is to carry the spirit of the university with me, meaning that I always learn and I always take the opportunity to see what others have done in the context of data science and machine learning, or what have you. For example, a client may say, I want X, Y, Z. Well, one of the first things I'll do is research and look at articles, literature review. I mean, it really comes back to the basics of the research skills that you find and develop at the universities, and taking that practice with us in the professional world is just as important as it is in our research and writing a thesis or dissertation or capstone project. Because one is that we always want to keep learning, and stay abreast of the latest and greatest ideas. And with that practice, that's how we move forward. And we increase our awareness. We increase our awareness of what the competition is doing, what's the latest and greatest thing. We want to look at different webinars that are happening to be aware of the technology that's being developed. And when we think about creating and delivering innovation, Um, how do we do that? Well, we come in with a set of knowledge, and we need to grow. We need to differentiate ourselves. And I kind of think about it like jazz. Jazz, you kind of understand some of the core patterns that are being played, but every once so often, an individual will improvise and ad lib and create something unique, and that's where that creativity comes into play. Oftentimes, that comes from someone who is passionate about what they're doing, going outside of the normal path, and then maybe studying something new and creative and doing it on their own. I have a funny story of one of my coworkers who took it upon himself to create a robot. Well, he wanted the robot to retrieve a beer for him, which was I thought it was interesting. It's like I'm gonna code, um, use AI to have a robot recognize a can of beer and be able to grab it and retrieve it to me. I mean, that was one is two. It's very creative, and he's taking advantage of the latest and greatest technologies to do something really fun and innovative. And he did that. He posted it on GitHub, um, and that was just one of the small things that individuals that we try to encourage with individuals to do things that are fun and that enhance the capability that they'll will eventually be able to deliver. And that's where it comes into play, where you do these innovative things that are creative, that you think are fun, and all of a sudden the customer comes along and says, hey, I want something that does this, this, and this. And you go, well, hey, didn't we do something similar to that a few days ago or a few weeks ago, a month or two ago, just for fun? And what if we made a little tweak to this? And doesn't this kind of like, look like what they're looking for? And when you do those kind of things, that's how um, you move the needle. And it comes back to meeting expectations. When it comes to AI, ML, data in general, I mean, there's a gambit of skills that are often rattled off as far as what a true data scientist is and does. And we have those business domain. We can start off with that, right? We can start off with coding skills. We can start off also with statistics, and that all that comes together, and all those skills can be overwhelming. And oftentimes, when we come out of um, come out of school, we hope that we can come close to holding the title of a data scientist and being able to do those things. I think that the closest we can do is come close to touching upon a lot of different topics, but always understanding that there's room for growth and room for future development. When I look at a Venn diagram like this, I am reminded of the unevenness in individuals' strengths when it comes to this Venn diagram. I kind of visualize, like say that your hacking skills are strong, and say your statistical skills are equally strong, but say your marketing skills are small and diminished. So that this Venn diagram might seem actually lopsided, but the goal is to work on your weakness, identify your weakness, think about how you can improve it, do the research, do the work, and be vulnerable. Be vulnerable to try new things and learn. Be inquisitive. I think that's one of the most important things as well, is to always think about how you can grow and how you can develop those skills, because this isn't about me rattling off a curriculum. It's really about the human spirit, because when it comes down to it, um, there's no there was a time when the label of data scientist didn't exist, but I would say that there's always been data scientists, and they were the individuals who were self-motivated to learn new things and to not take on a label of I'm only this or I'm only that. One of the things that I've talked recently about with some of my cohort teammates, or some of the individuals who I supervise, I will, might send them off to a webinar and say, hey, I want you to learn this. And they'll go to it and they go, that was full of a bunch of developers. I'm like, yeah, so I mean, you got to think like basically it doesn't matter, because the data scientist needs to understand how to work with data, how to work with data structures, how to work with algorithms, how to understand how to read and write object-oriented code occasionally, or work with web websites, web services, API calls. I mean, it goes on and on. So you want to, in my career, I've had an opportunity to really go deep dive into different areas, deep dive in data science. But before then, it was a deep dive in software engineering, deep dive into database administration, database architecture. And you want to, when you have that clear understanding, that's when you can begin to communicate with individuals outside of your immediate discipline and work effectively as a team member and a team lead. So, and this right here, what I want to talk about here is Gardner and the things we need to do. And I've talked a lot about innovation and how when we're creative and inspired, we come up with cool things. And it's all about doing the cool things. But Gardner says these are the things that as a company we need to do. We need to come up with new products. We need to be innovative. We can't just learn one thing and play it over and over again. It's like a musician playing a song over and over again, and he never learns a new song. You're like, dude, that's I'm tired. And you turn the station, right? So in the context of data science, we want to think about new refreshing ideas, how we can develop new products, how we can deliver. And as you can see from this quadrant, there's a high benefit. It is complex. There's a reward in things that are more difficult. Oftentimes they're more cool because they're unique. I'm thinking of deep learning, things that are augmented reality, things that are outside the box where you see it and you think about, well, what if it did this extra thing, and working towards that. And so how do we get there? And how do we build a team? How do we take a loose band of individuals who are working on different consulting projects and move the needle forward as new technologies are brought upon us? How do we do that? Well, one of the ways that I've tapped into that is by forming professional guilds. And part of that formation of the guild, we start out by essentially kind of establishing the culture and giving a framework for that. So one of the things that I stated within our guild formation is we want to commit ourselves to psychological safety and kind of talk about cultivate leadership. And I explained what those things were. And we want to present things that we've learned in life and things that we're passionate about. One of those ideas I explained to you was the idea of a robot retrieving beer, which is kind of fun. And then Also, looking at presenting papers that we find interesting, exploring the landscape and looking at the relevant topics that are out there, but understanding interesting articles and findings that we can come across that can help us get a better understanding of where the industry is going. And especially, guest speakers and other things. So all these things lead towards cultivating a spirit of carrying the university forward. We have had speakers from CELU at come to our group, excuse me, and do our group presentation. So I'm not sure if this little button showed, but I do have an interesting story I'll tell in a little bit once it seems appropriate. So how do we put things in motion? And this is kind of a synopsis of all those different ideas that I've been talking about as far as what are the contributing factors to innovation and how the mechanism and framework of the guild can help with that. And I think that first is building the community, getting to know your teammates, and understanding where they're coming from. And one of the ways we can do that is by one of the things we did actually was we formed small groups or teams together, and these teams would work on POCs or proof of concepts and step through kind of like a classroom setting where there's a group project. I think that oftentimes the master's programs have this where they'll get a group of between 4 to 8, 7 people together to work on a certain project. He divides up the work amongst themselves, and it's a self-motivated team that is working on a project that they come up with. And what we do during that process is we step through and we it's somewhat structured in the sense that there's certain targeted objectives, but within that context, what we strive to do is to master cloud technology, machine learning, and looking for opportunities to utilize operation research in the form of decision analytics, our algorithmic skills, and then also coding. And ML ops is kind of the future, and where we're really, as data scientists, that's where we're going to grow the most, is by not only creating the model, but actually put it in production and monitoring the performance of that model and being able to tweak the model in real time and understand how that works, and working with dynamic data, not static data. And also the concept of developing our soft skills, being able to speak, being able to put presentations together, being able to share new ideas, and also developing individual character. That's always important, to be able to work with clients and to be client facing and to be able to speak well. These are all important skills. And one of the things that we've done too is worked with universities. Most recently, George Washington University. We worked with that group, that school, and some of the students to help a class of individuals get their masters in analytics, and it all comes together to have a team that's ready to innovate. And what I'd like to do right now is just kind of cover a few topics that we've covered in the past. And back in September last year, Dr. Amar spoke at our guild meeting. I don't have the topic. I'm not sure if Dr. Amar is on the call, but I forget the exact topic. But it was a pleasure to have him, and his brother is actually works at DXC, so that's kind of cool. This is I can go through. This is like a slideshow, so I hope I don't bore. But if you guys have any questions, just speak out. So healthcare analytics. This is another topic that we covered with George Washington University. This was part of their capstone, and Justin Somniat of DXC led this team, and I participated in this group as well, and working on meeting with them on a weekly basis and checking in with them and encouraging them to learn and try new techniques to analyze the data. Here's another topic of looking at Azure Machine Learning Studio. Hewitt Slidell did this before his student body. Ryan Marinelli did a great presentation on intro to quantum computing and using Python. These are topics that were of interest to him, and they shared with the group. Integration of Azure Databricks with RStudio and DXC GitHub. This is a topic that I brought together a team of folks, and looking at Databricks. Oftentimes the default is to use Python, but some individuals are really love R, and RStudio are kind of stuck to use what's on their desktop. But being able to integrate that into a cloud platform really gives them a lot of power to move forward. So being able to show different pathways to success and to be able to innovate. Shiny apps, understanding how Shiny apps work in different platforms since open source are. And Ryan gave a presentation on this. I believe during this presentation, we actually had Tulane University students who attended our guild meeting and were able to participate and learn from that presentation. And this one is on Informatica by Chandra, where we talked about during this lab, we actually talked about data warehousing and Informatica, and you kind of broke it down for everyone. And Informatica is a high demand tool these days. And this one was kind of cool. We actually looked at UI UX design and how the different groups think differently. Like as far as data scientists, it was a kind of opportunity for data scientists to work with another organization and to see things through their eye, to understand how they interpreted requirements and to share how they could be creative. That was a very interesting presentation. So at this point, I'm ready for questions. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
I think we're here. It looks like everybody's mic is off.
Oh, that's okay. So
I think we have a question in the room. I'm going to have him come closer. This is Dr. Regis.
Oh, hey.
Hi. I think I was at that gathering outside of the bar.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have a question. What is the skill set, like the one thing, or at least maybe there's one thing that you've seen like new folks joining the workforce? The one skill that you wish they had, but they're missing? Something that is maybe overlooked in academia. Is there such a thing?
Okay, I have to admit that I heard part of the question because it broke up. But I think that you asked me if there was a skill that I saw that was lacking in individuals who were hired as data scientists. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Well, I think typically, so it comes down to big data because that's what we deal with. So data science is often trained to work with models, develop models, understand models, but and they're often given a data set that's perfect, and they'll go through and maybe there's missing data. They'll have to do some data munging to clean up and things of that nature. But the idea of starting from scratch, meaning that you have a transactional database and you say the client wants you to do something with that data. Well, first off, as a data scientist, you may or may not know this coming in, but as you become more senior, you understand that, okay, well, from before I even touch this, what are the pieces that need to be in place for me to run the reports or get these reports that the client wants? And building data warehouses and understanding data warehouse architecture is a skill that needs to be formed, and I would say that's probably the number one thing that comes to mind. And there's other things as well, but essentially getting your hands dirty with cloud technology, working with the data lake. In the real world, it's really about working with systems and working with dynamic data. And oftentimes, the client doesn't know what they want. They're not going to give you a nice data set unless you articulate what you need. But also, you need to be able to articulate, I need these events to be, organized in a certain manner for me before I can even, proceed. So those are essentially, it's kind of going from the two different pendulums of, here's a data scientist, here's a data engineer. Well, the data scientist is lacking in data engineering skills, and you have a strong data engineer, he may be lacking data modeling skills. So oftentimes what happens is you want those skill sets to be kind of migrated. The data scientist, you want to be slowly learn more and more about data engineering. And I guess if you have a data engineer, you actually want them to start moving more and more towards data modeling. So I know that was a long-winded question or answer. I'm sorry, long-winded answer, but hopefully it was worth listening to. Okay, I hear. Is this Boris? At what point in my career did data science, machine learning, et cetera, become more than a skill and instead be a basis for your career? That's a tough one. I think it was the I guess when I worked at the city of New Orleans, and my job at the city of New Orleans at that point was city resilience, and conducting. I had to formulate city resilient projects and smarter city research, understanding smarter city technology. And I started to dig into that and understand the different technologies, and also understand the capability of what technology was able to do. And a lot of these things were premised on statistics that were part of my DNA, because that was my bachelor's was in statistical science. And so essentially, and also AI was always this kind of technology that geeky people learned, but was never never applicable because there was, the computing power wasn't there. And I'd always kept technology, but AI up to that point was just kind of like just something more. I could only take in so much. And I think when I started my program, or what led me to start my program, was just that understanding that I could actually take into account the new approach, what was now data science, and do something interesting with it. And also, up to that point, I had a bachelor's, and it seemed like data science fit me inherently, because I'd already had the database background, data skills, software engineering skills, statistical skills, and business skills as well. And data science seemed like that perfect munging of my background. And getting a master's at Northwestern was a way to kind of bring everything together. And I hope that answered your question, John. And then also, I'm saying that Bamabi Robertson. So they're asking, in your experience, what are the top 4 or 5 factors impeding successful data science team projects? I'd say the ML ops is one of those, and you guys can Google that, ML ops, and what that is, and I'd say the lack thereof. And it's really about, okay, so you develop a model. You finally get the data. You get, maybe create a data warehouse, and maybe you create a model that identifies something. At a moment in time, it works. But what happens when the data changes, or there's a need to tweak the model? Well, how do you deal with that? And how do you put it into production so that it's a usable model? And how do you manage version controlling and things of that nature? That it's that next step that's the biggest hurdle. And that's where, as a data scientist, it becomes part of that learning curve to be able to understand not just data science, but also the technology, and understand the architecture to build the pieces to put things in motion. And I won't go into 4 or 5 topics, but I think just that in itself covers a lot of different things. So, okay, so how am I doing? Any other voices want to ask any person want to ask a question? Oh.
Hello,
Hey.
my name is Kevin. I'm a computer scientist at Southeastern. There's a new concentration at Southeastern, and it is of data science, and they talk about handling big data a lot. Yeah, what's up, John? They're handling big data a lot, and I'm kind of curious if you can give me like maybe a few examples of what that big data might be.
Okay. Yeah.
Handle it, what I'll do with it.
Okay. Well, yeah, big data. I mean, when I think of big data, there's like the 3 V's, and I think that it's turned into 5. I feel like it's almost an interview question in a way, but there's volume, velocity, veracity, value, and I think I'm missing something else. Yeah, I won't worry about it. But so those are the descriptors of big data. One of the ways that we see big data could be, say, video analytics, where we develop say a deep learning algorithm to identify objects in real time. And you know, there's tools out there that do this. But let's say you had I think MATLAB has some cool, um, um, you know, public libraries that you can use that will, you know, you scan the video, a camera over objects, and then it identifies, it puts a label or probability of what that item is. And then the power of understanding that, you know, you put that into practice, that could be autonomous driving, meaning a car that drives itself because it can see the road, identify the road, and then the mechanisms. Obviously, you think about Tesla and think about all the different sensors on Tesla and how it brings in that information and is able to move a car through 3 dimensions. And think about the computing power that's required. And think about also how that model's trained and how it's not perfect and how it needs to be improved over time. So when you think about big data, that's definitely an example of big data. Another example might be audio recognition, being able to identify a person's voice, not only what they're saying, but understand the difference between one person and another. Being able to training a model to recognize those things could have other implications for security and or just service related. So I think those are a few examples. I hope that helps. Any others?
So I'm not going to let you go without asking more questions, Ishmael. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
So I've never taken a data science or machine learning class in my entire life, despite having taught a few courses. It's such an amazing tool for me. But the way I've kind of used ML has always been as a tool to create some or add some value in another area. For the students that are here, are there any minors that you would recommend that help augment the student's ability to apply data science? It may be in a future career, but maybe it's a way to sort of better express the knowledge and skills of data science. Is there any minor that stands out for you that might augment machine learning and data science?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Whatever business knowledge is being applied, I think that helps. And it depends on the industry you're going into. Because a lot of the ways that the industry is going as far as data science is more a specific data scientist. So if a person knows, you know, business or in general, or, you know, like airline industry or advertisement industry or and customer bases. And if you have a good understanding of your client and it really comes at, but I guess it really comes back to that Venn diagram. And you know, you can see that we can easily identify with are the, you know, the programming skills and statistics. And those are technologies that we can really see. But then that soft skill and also the business skill, that third that third circle, that's where I would consider that would be another minor, for example, that you could enhance a person's capabilities. You know, if they understand the airline industry, for example, how airlines or even logistics would be huge. Logistics in the context of a certain industry, and then if you understand, how an airline operates, what they do, how the flights come in, how they're assigned. If you understand that process, then you can understand how to apply AI to facilitate and improve processes. It goes for many fields. I think this wouldn't be a minor, but it's actually the flip side where maybe data science was the minor. Was some of my colleagues were actually doctors in medical school, or not so in medical school. I'm sorry, they were practicing doctors, and what they getting a master's was just another way to keep themselves busy, I guess. They didn't have enough to do, but okay, I want to take data science, dude. I want to, as part of my data science curriculum, what I want to do is be able to see if I can monitor my patients using, at the time, all the rage was the Fitbit watches and health, like the biotech monitoring devices. Being able to take that technology and then be able to manage outcare, patient outcare, and manage your patient's health by collecting real-time information on your patients and seeing how they're doing outside of your office, and seeing if that could speed up their recovery. In that regard, obviously that individual was operating at a high level where he had his patients, but he was able to form a hypothesis, and he was able to gather offer or deliver better service. So I guess that really underscores the continual learning aspect of things. Getting a minor is a great start, but it's also that attitude of perpetual learning that is really, 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 really important. And I work with a lot of individuals at different levels, whether that would PhD, masters, or is the inquisitive nature, and always wanting to learn. So hopefully that helps, John.
All right, well, thank you so much. It is now right at 5 o'clock, and so I want to be very respectful of your time because I know you're in your workday as well. If there's any more questions, we can take one more, but I really, like I said, I just want to be real respectful of your time. So thank you for coming. It was very informative to those of us not in data science, as well as I'm sure those who are in that field amongst us. We have several students, as you mentioned, in that option. So yeah, again, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge and your insights with us. We appreciate it.